It's the morning of day 3. 12 strangers have been living together in this isolated house in the Lake District, aware that they're taking part in a psychology program, but unaware that they're surrounded by 15 hidden cameras. Psychologists Phil Zimbardo and Mark McDermott have been analysing their behaviour, watching their every move on banks of monitors. On day 1, we watched them forming first impressions of each other and bond as a group of 12. But on day 2, we divided them into teams and watched rivalries develop. Last night, the A team humiliated the B team with a menial forfeit. This morning, we're raising the stakes. We'll announce a winning team at the end of the day, and during the day, we're going to watch what happens when one group of people is given power over another.
I want this clear, very clear. The A's are in charge. So that means that inside the house and outside the house, the A's are completely in charge of what happens.
What are we doing?
We'll make the decision. We don't want you to make any decisions today, that's our job.
Immediately, the A's, wearing red, have a dilemma. Yesterday, the B's washed up all day. Today, it should be the A team's turn, but now they're in charge, they decide to have a rethink in private.
If I'm managing this situation now, I would have them to do the dishes, they would go and do the dishes, and they'd even sort out that, and we'd go and take a chill and let's discuss the rest of the day.
Is that your decision?
That's my decision.
Okay, what about you, Mick? What do you reckon? I'll rule that.
That's my decision, that's what I would do as a
What would you
manager.
want to do?
The situation that we're put in, you know, there were 12 of us and we were all living in each other's pockets, and then the situation just took over and we kind of adopted those roles that we were given, and some people adopted them more than the others.
When the red team were given the management role, Caroline did like a Jekyll and Hyde. She just turned just like that. She was become really domineering and sort of overpowering and wanted to sort of make us the downtrodden, if you like. She was really sort of revelling in the leadership role.
You may not even need all of you to tell them.
You remember when we first met Caroline in the opening scene, she came in, she sat down, she was very pleasant, cordial, but really faded into the woodwork, had very little to say. People didn't respond to her very much, but now she is suddenly a dominant figure.
Caroline was the first to arrive at our human zoo. She's 33, married with 2 children, and owns a hairdressing salon. On her application form, she described herself as a remarkable person. To start with, she was unremarkable.
There really is too many chiefs and not enough Indians. And not enough people are prepared to just stand back and relax for 5 minutes and let somebody take charge, somebody else take charge.
Until the evening of day 2, when she had her first taste of power, and the remarkable Caroline started to emerge.
That was the highlight of my couple of days, the winning and getting them to clean my boots. That was really good.
And
Yes.
gonna make you
Caroline is not only who she first seemed to be. She now shows herself to be capable of other kinds of behaviour too, given the right context, the right situation.
Right. Now that she's given that power, we see another side of her emerging.
You've all got a blue hat. You don't have to wear it. You don't have to wear it. It's advisable to take it. You don't have to wear it, all right? I'll give that.
It's 9 a.m. on day 3. The A team are in charge, and Caroline's in her element.
So here's Caroline imposing yet another kind of control, telling the Blues that they have to wear their caps.
When Caroline walked in the room and said, you know, we're managers now, basically, we don't wash up, you go and wash up. My initial reaction was, toss her, basically.
Her eyes were sort of glaring, you know, we'll make them do the washing up.
Do you notice that certain members of the management have a lovely, great big smirk on their face?
Oh, definitely.
Caroline not only has become dominant, she's the only one who comes in to oversee them, to be sure that they're doing their job. It's kind of like seeing the slaves in the field. It's one thing to know they're out there, it's another thing to be there overseeing them. So Caroline's taking a special delight in the power she has to control behavior, and she's now seeing it in action and saying, I give an order and they're following it.
Right, we've not got very long.
What are you going to do if someone has a tantrum and needs to do it? How are you going to deal with that as a management?
Throw them over the mountain.
I see it every day at work. I see people that have worked alongside me on the shop floor, and they've been promoted, and they've just changed, you know, just like that.
The Reds are going to have to justify what was really an unfair decision, given that the Blues cleaned up. They could have said, well, we'll help you, or we'll all do it together, which would have been the most reasonable thing.
If we're thinking fair, then we're not doing our job
properly.
Whether you like it or not, you've got to take control when you're making a management decision. It isn't nice, but you've got to take control, haven't you? Somebody's got to be the bad guy in it. And I can handle being the bad guy. I'm happy at the top end of the scale, I'm happy at the bottom end of the scale. If I'd sooner be at the top. Once you get to the top, you really haven't got time to be doing all the trivial little jobs. Anyway, people at the top, they don't have time to do all the trivial jobs.
Caroline seems to have taken to her managerial role like a duck to water. But the B team have adopted their role as subordinates just as readily.
Amit, can you sort out a spokesperson for your group and let us know? There he is.
Are you the spokesperson now then?
I'm the union leader.
Right,
but I'll be back, I gotta get ready. If that's okay with you, sir.
That's fine, we'll get on you.
For now, the B team are obeying the A team, and the A team are obeying the rules of our human zoo. Obedience seems to come naturally. In our human zoo, we've started to see the A team follow Caroline's lead in managing the bees. But we haven't told any of them how to go about it. All we've done is put them in charge. They're interpreting that in their own way, and it's becoming abundantly clear what being in charge means to Caroline.
Right, I've got your brief for you this morning.
It's 11 o'clock, and we've told the A team to make the B team, who are disgruntled, build an outdoor shelter. But we've also told them not to lift a finger themselves and to insist on keeping to a tough deadline. It's a manager's nightmare. As Richard, who seems to have become Caroline's right-hand man, leads the bees down to the lake, the question is, how will the A team handle things?
Your task today here is to build a freestanding building out of all this material with the rope, and you have 90 minutes to do that. We're not actually allowed to handle any of the equipment, so we're going to be telling you how to set it up, how we would like it to be set up, and how you're going to attach all the equipment together.
Well, seeing how as you guys can't touch this stuff and we're going to be doing the entire construction, we thought maybe it might be an act of goodwill to say that, you know, maybe you guys can do the washing up this afternoon just as a request.
Well, we'll decide on that later. We'll decide.
We have some dissension in the ranks already.
I mean, we're not at this present time in mind. We've got 90 minutes. We're not here to discuss regarding about today's dinner, lunch, or evening meal.
We're across the washing up another time.
Amit is actually trying to get them to redefine their role as managers. He's essentially saying, well, good managers would provide incentives, or good managers would negotiate with the workers, saying, if you do this, then this is what you get back. And they're saying, no, just do it, and then we'll talk later.
If we've got something to say, can we say it one at a time?
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
Because we can't hear everyone shouting all the time. Now, we've got this task to complete. We want to get on with it. We want to get it done. We can discuss all goody-goodies.
I don't think we're so motivated until maybe we get a little act of goodwill from management. I don't think we've been treated well so far.
It seems like they have something that they really need for us to do, so we can use that sort of as leverage to kind of say, you know, we didn't appreciate how you treated us this morning. I think that if you're going to be our managers for the entire day, maybe if you change your attitude a little bit, we'll be a little bit more willing to help you get whatever it is you need done.
Can we just get on with it now? Let's all enjoy ourselves.
But Caroline takes a different view.
Oh, I thought they were pathetic, absolutely pathetic. There was no need for them to... But they couldn't see through, you know, they couldn't see further than the noses what they were supposed to be doing.
I think, can I just say something? I think you lot need to adopt a nicer manner approach. The way you speak to us, it needs to change, because if you speak to people in a certain way, they're not going to do things. It's not what you do, it's the way you do it. And speak to us with a bit more respect, and as we do to you. Thank you.
Well, that's great, but we're not here to discuss what we're here to discuss the construction. I do enjoy managing. I do enjoy managing. There's no doubt about it. I don't mind, you know, telling people what to do, but I wouldn't do it in a horrible way. And we're not here to discuss how we're talking to you. We're here to.
It matters. It all matters.
Yeah.
It all matters.
I think what we're trying to say is why.
The managers are trying to get over to the workers that we're doing what we are told, so therefore you also should do as you are told. And of course, doing as we are told as we've learned from the cradle right up to now, is what we should be doing.
Even managers have managers. We have been told we have got to do this, so we are trying to enforce it.
do something.
Our task is to try to help. You build this. We are not allowed to give you
over why we should be building.
The A team was giving the orders out to the B team, but the A team were being given orders by everyone who was making the programme.
Hello, you can't make us physically do it.
All right, do you want to do the task?
Hang on a second.
We can go get some tea and...
Quiet! Can we just please hear the rules?
Right, the rules are, during the construction period, you must comply with the following union regulations. This...
That's nothing to do with them.
We've explained everything. We don't actually know ourselves.
Your task is to supervise.
We're not allowed to see this. Your task. Right, your task. Let's discuss your task.
Oh, you're so organised, you managers. I love it.
You have to build a construction now that is in height 5 foot minimum.